I got a chance to talk with Jim Zeller. He's the property manager for Whispering Pines Apartments. He had a lot of great information on renting apartments, some of the things you need to look for, questions you need to ask, and all about the ins and outs of landlord-tenant issues. So it was a great opportunity to talk with Jim, and I hope you get a lot of good information on this segment. Well, Jim, thanks for joining me. I want to talk a little bit about apartment rentals, and any suggestions for our viewers if you're a person that's going to look for an apartment complex. What are some of the first things you might want to do in trying to select an area or select a complex, or when you go in to see a rental agent or a property manager, what questions you should ask?
I think first you should look for a place to know, if you're bringing pets or something, does that place take pets? Ask those questions right up front. Know what size apartment you're looking for, when you're looking for. The specific dates are always extremely important to know, to get you to look for what apartment you need at what time. Most of the time when you go in, you're going to expect to have to pay an application fee. Just a fee to process the application itself. Usually that fee, once you're approved, gets put towards your deposit. Then you should expect to put down a deposit probably the same day that you actually fill out an application. That would hold the apartment for you with most circumstances, and that would be a great way to lock down what you want. You're going to want to be at least 60 days in advance to really lock something down in particular that you want. Some places will go out about half a year, so it just depends on the apartment community that you're looking at, and you just need to talk to them and see when their availability is, if you can go on a wait list, and get all that squared away. You should start looking as soon as you know that you want to live someplace different.
And how about people that are currently renting apartments? Some of the things that can affect their ability to get their lease renewed, or if they're going to look for an apartment, say they're going to choose to move to a different area and they want to rent an apartment. I know that one of the things you want to make sure you do is you probably don't want an eviction on your record.
An eviction is never a good thing. That's one of the first things people look at when they are processing an application. Do you have an eviction not only filed on, or not only executed against you, but do you have one that's even been filed? Because that'll show that there's either a payment issue in the past, or that you've had some sort of behavioral problem. I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize gets them evicted are when you just move random people into your apartment without them going through the lease process. If you've got a new roommate coming in, the first thing you should do is go talk to your management company, get them on board, get them to say, yes, this person can move in with you, and get them on the lease. Being on the lease is the most important part of it. One, you're establishing your own rental history by being on the lease, and just getting that to go forward so that you have a good rental term, and you've always been upfront about everything, so that when we as the landlord are called, we can give you that good landlord verification. One thing that some companies do is they look at your, they have a policy where 3 strikes you're out, basically when it comes to renewing. So if you've had multiple cases where noise disturbances have been substantiated, or complaints about loud parties, other things of that nature. If you have 3 of those, frequently a landlord will not renew. Same with late payments on your rent. Usually you have a certain amount of time where you have to pay your rent, usually on the 1st, and some places will even have a grace period, but if you're not paying within that time frame, and you do that on multiple occasions, frequently that will end up in a non-renewal as well.
And are most of the leases pretty general from apartment to apartment? Is there any ones that put special addendums in? I know some have like for drug use and criminal behavior and things like that they put in leases.
You're always going to want to look at the lease in full individually, because that lease could have things, non-standard rental policies, which basically is a section where they tell you things that are going to come out of your security deposit other than damages. So like if you had money that was still due, rent that's still due, they can take that out of your security deposit. So you're going to want to look at things like that. Lots of places do have a drug provision in there, and you want to make sure that you're in compliance with that, and that you know that you're responsible for your invited guests' actions. If you're inviting somebody over, or you have children or other people who you are responsible for on the property, they have to act to the same level that you're expected to act at. Just because they don't know the rules doesn't mean that they can do whatever. It means that that will reflect on you, their actions. So if they go around and they're selling drugs or something like that, then that would be something that would reflect on you if it does come back to your unit number.
All right, and I know here in Fitchburg we have a landlord-tenant ordinance. Is there other communities that you know of in the area that have? I'm sure the city of Madison has a landlord-tenant ordinance, and that usually that's got, you know, some of the, I guess the ordinance covers what, I guess it's got a lot of things in there for like the heat being at a certain temperature and maintenance of the building and things like that.
There are always specific rules as to what a landlord needs to fulfill in terms of obligations with heat and air conditioning, and it does vary. The one best resource for you for that is to go to the Dane County Tenant Resource Center. If you have questions as to whether something is how it's supposed to be. If you're questioning it, go there, ask them the questions. They're a great resource for you.
I kind of brought another question I have for you, Jim, is so I'm moving into my new apartment. Is there a checklist or something that I should go through and to keep track of things that either are broken or are not working, that it either can be repaired, or when I get ready to move out, so that I don't get charged for something that wasn't working when I moved into the apartment?
Absolutely. You should always have a move-in checklist. If your new landlord doesn't provide you with one, you should fill out just a regular sheet of paper and break it down. What was broken when you came in? What damages were done in that unit that you do not want to get charged for? Be very specific to look for your carpet stains. Look for knife marks on the countertops. Things that you absolutely do not want to get charged for at move out. A great thing that you can do is take photos at the time of move-in, and you can either turn them in as part of your move-in checklist or just keep them for your own, so that when you move out, it can be compared to the current condition that you leave the unit in when you do leave. So hopefully you won't get charged for things that aren't your responsibility and things that you didn't cause the damage to.
All right. And how about insurance? What do you provide when I move into an apartment? Do you provide insurance for all my property? So if my apartment gets broken into, is your company going to pay for all my losses?
We're not. Basically, insurance is your responsibility. Tenant insurance is one of the most affordable insurances that you can buy. You know, I can't quote you a price, but I can tell you that it is much cheaper than having your items damaged or destroyed, and then finding out what that's going to cost to cover. So I would always recommend renter's insurance for anybody who's renting an apartment.